Good morning, Grace and Community Church. Pastor Mark here. One of the things that I've been praying about is how can I talk about some things that I normally don't get to talk to you about on Sunday mornings? Things like our values, things like our responses as Christians, maybe some distinctives like baptism and salvation and prayer and things that sometimes we take for granted, but I really want to talk about. And so I'm going to take, over the next year, I'm going to take 4 or 5 minutes every Sunday, and I'm going to talk about some of these things. And so I'm going to start with the 6 responses. If you're new here, you've probably received a visitor's packet, and they're listed there, but let me break them down for us today. Our responses as Christians is worship. That's number 1. Number 2, it's fellowship. And we look at fellowship, and it's so critical for us. We're going to talk about that. We talk about discipleship and service and power and outreach. And I want to break these down for us over the next 6 weeks. Let's look at the first one, worship. Worship is so critical. Worship focuses us on God. It strengthens us. It strengthens us spiritually and emotionally through the challenges of life so that we can glorify God in everything that we do. Isn't that powerful? Worship really matters. It matters to God, and it matters to us. Let me give you 6 keys that I believe will help us to worship better. Number 1, worship involves surrender. Surrender of our lives. The Apostle Paul said it best in Romans. He said, I beseech you, brothers, by the tender mercies of God, that you would present yourself as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your reasonable act of worship. Isn't that powerful? Number 2, worship is putting our focus on Him. Sometimes we get so distracted. Sometimes we come to church and we can worship with the songs and we're really not worshiping. We can listen to the sermons, but we're really not worshiping. We can be involved in an area of ministry and still not really worshiping. Worship is a lifestyle, and it takes all of our focus. True worship is based on our desire to honor God. It's not based on our likes or dislikes or our preference for different styles of music. It's about putting Him and Him alone first in our lives. Number 3, the third key is worship. Well, it gets us out of the way. It just absolutely gets us out of the way. We have to learn to remove our worries and our opinions and our fears and our inhibitions, even those that we have, ourselves. We have to learn how to worship Him with abandon and to really know what it means to put Him first. So letting go. Sometimes we get in the way of our own experience of worship. Number 4, worship involves personal sacrifice. This is a hard one. Life is difficult sometimes. Sometimes life throws us a curveball. It's fragile. Things happen. But we are commanded to worship the Lord. Like Jesus Himself said, the fruit of our lips giving praise. We worship Him even with personal sacrifice. Number 5, we must worship in the face of this pain and this loss. There's times where we don't even want to worship. There's times where we wonder if we'll ever be able to worship again, if you will. But like King David, who lost a child, and instead of locking himself up in sadness and depression, he said, I will, for the joy of the Lord, worship the Lord. God is the God that gives, and God is the God that takes away. He is worthy to be praised. And finally, worship is celebrating who God is. He is sovereign. He is awesome. His love endures forever. That's what the psalmist said. He said in Psalm 100 in verses 1 through 5, he said, shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before Him with joyful songs, knowing that the Lord is God. It is He who made us, and we are His. We are His people and the sheep of His pastures. Enter His gates with thanksgiving and His courts with praise. Give thanks to Him and praise His name. For the Lord God, listen church, for the Lord God is good, and his love endures forever. His faithfulness endures throughout all the generations. Church, let's continue to worship the Lord in spirit and in truth. Thank you, and God bless.